Have you ever noticed how some people seem to have an almost magical influence over their surroundings without ever raising their voice? They don't argue, they don't beg, they simply step back, and everything shifts. The energy changes. People grow uneasy, start chasing, start questioning. Now imagine what would happen if you did the same. What if you stopped reacting to everything? What if you chose silence over instant responses, withdrawal over outbursts? This is where the transformation begins, when you stop being constantly available, emotionally, physically, mentally. The world around you begins to stir in discomfort. People are used to managing you through your predictability, your reactions, your impulses. The moment you choose to pull away, the game changes. Those who thought they understood you suddenly realize they knew nothing at all. Carl Jung once said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." So think about this. When you become less accessible, who gets anxious? Who tries to provoke a response just to pull you back in emotionally? That says more about them than it does about you. And it reveals how often your emotions are being used, manipulated, without you even noticing. You give so much of yourself trying to keep peace, to not lose people who were never truly with you to begin with. Every forced yes, every quick reply, every emotional reaction, each one chips away at your energy. And by the end of the day, what's left? Exhaustion, frustration, a strange emptiness that words can't explain. Here's the truth. You are too available for those who don't even deserve a moment of your silence. This isn't about turning your back on others. It's about choosing yourself. It's about learning what Jung called individuation, the process of becoming whole, real, and complete. And it starts when you realize that silence can be more powerful than 1,000 arguments. When stepping back, not to avoid but to observe, is an act of strength. So I ask you now, how long will you keep letting others control your emotions? How long will you let people pull your strings, reactivate your wounds? Maybe it's time to cut those strings, to become a mystery. Because once you stop being constantly available, everything changes. From childhood, we're taught to be quick to respond, to say yes even when we want to say no. We're conditioned to believe our value lies in how accessible we are. But here's something no one tells you clearly. Excessive availability is not a virtue. It's a trap. As long as you keep believing you need to be emotionally or mentally accessible all the time, people will use you, drain you, then toss you aside when you're no longer useful. Why? because predictability turns you into a tool. You become the person people turn to for emotional relief, validation, or distraction. And then, once they've taken what they need, they shelve you again. You don't notice because you're trapped in the illusion that always being there for others means someone will be there for you. But it doesn't work that way. Jung talked about the persona, the mask we wear to be liked, accepted, praised. It's this mask that keeps us overly available. You say, "It's fine," when you're drowning. You reply instantly, even when you're exhausted. You explain, defend, and justify yourself as if you owe the world an answer. But the truth is, the more you put yourself at the center of other people's stories, the more you vanish from your own. Constant availability is subtle self-abandonment. It's a disguised way of begging for acceptance, of avoiding rejection. But the price is high. Your peace, your energy, your identity. People who always want you available don't want you. They want what you offer: comfort, distraction, validation. But when you change, when you set limits, when you say no, they get upset. Not because you did something wrong, but because you're no longer playing their game. And here's the harsh reality. The more available you are, the less you're valued. Abundance turns you into emotional clutter. People don't respect what they don't have to earn. So ask yourself, who truly deserves your time, your attention, your energy, or even your absence? But before answering that, we need to understand one crucial thing. Why do we react so much? Why do we give in so easily? What's behind this urge to explain, justify, and please? Jung had an answer: psychic energy. He didn't see the mind as a machine that simply reacts. He saw it as an energy system. Every thought, feeling, or action uses a part of that energy. So the real question is, are you choosing where your energy goes? Or is the world deciding for you? Each impulsive reaction wastes energy. Each time you respond to someone's drama, try to prove a point, or please people who don't appreciate you, you drain yourself. And Jung warned, what you resist persists. Emotionally drained people aren't weak, they're misaligned. And exhaustion makes you vulnerable. People sense it. They see that you're trying to solve everything for everyone all the time. And they use that. They know how to push your buttons because you've left them exposed. A healthy psyche, Jung said, protects its energy. It knows when to speak and when to stay quiet. It knows that real power lies in choosing your response, not reacting out of habit. How often have you lost sleep over a conversation that should have ended long ago? How often have you spiraled analyzing someone's mistreatment, trying to find meaning in their cruelty? That's energy leaking out of you. When well guarded, your energy gives you presence. You walk into a room and people feel it, even if you say nothing. But when poorly managed, you become reactive, fragile, invisible. So start paying attention to your triggers. What causes you to lose your center? What makes you react without thinking? Those are the energy leaks. And that's where your real work begins. Not to become cold, but to become sovereign over yourself. And here's one of Jung's deepest insights. When you protect your energy, you destroy the false images others project onto you. That upsets people, because now we're dealing with manipulation, not the obvious kind, but the silent kind. Let's talk about that next. You may think you're in control. You may believe you're choosing your responses, but the truth is darker. Many of your emotional reactions are programmed. And those who understand this can manipulate you with barely a word. They don't need to shout or demand, they just know how to press your buttons. Jung called this projection. When people assign their unconscious issues onto others, but projection goes both ways. The more emotionally available you are, the more you become a blank screen for others to project onto. That friend who only shows up when they're falling apart, that partner who needs saving, that colleague who flatters you when they need something, they're not connecting with you. They're connecting with the version of you that serves them. And why do you play that role? Because you're scared. Scared to disappoint, to be abandoned, to be unloved. The most effective manipulation doesn't come through confrontation. It comes through guilt. It's the silent pressure to always be there, even when it's tearing you apart. But the manipulator doesn't need control. They just need you to keep reacting the same way. And once you stop doing that, once you say no, stay silent, walk away, the illusion shatters. They no longer know who you are, and now they're forced to face themselves. Most people aren't ready for that. Your silence becomes a threat. It reflects their inner emptiness. And then comes the backlash, the criticism, the guilt trips, the emotional theatrics. Not because you did something wrong, but because you stopped playing the role. As Jung said, we do not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Your withdrawal forces others to confront the parts of themselves they've been running from. It's not easy. Are you ready to face that discomfort? To be misunderstood, criticized, even abandoned, for choosing yourself, because in that silence something else is born. And that's what we'll talk about next. The world today is loud. Everyone wants to talk, to argue, to be right, even at the cost of peace. But there's a rare power that few understand, the power of silence. Not passive silence, but clear, conscious, unwavering silence. Jung saw silence not as emptiness, but as fertile ground for transformation. When you stop reacting, you start observing. And when you observe, patterns reveal themselves. Patterns of manipulation, self-sabotage, emotional dependency. Silence gives you clarity, and clarity threatens anyone who wants to control you. Have you noticed how certain people panic when you don't respond? When you don't justify yourself? It's not that they miss you, it's that they've lost the power to control your narrative. As long as you talk, you're still in their game. But silence changes the rules. True silence isn't weakness, it's control. It's refusing to be dragged into someone else's emotional storm. It's choosing not to fight battles that drain you. It's the voice of someone who no longer needs to prove anything. But silence has a price. It'll alienate people who only valued your function, not your presence. It will make you seem strange to those who only saw their reflection in you. And that's okay, because the more you grow, the more you understand. Not everyone deserves your truth. Some only deserve your silence. Your absence speaks volumes. And those who feel threatened by it, they've been feeding off your chaos. Now that you've chosen peace, they're exposed. But the most powerful silence is not the one that disturbs them. It's the one that rebuilds you.